Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining another amazing Agile Expertise Meetup. In association this evening with Expertise Recruitment, Agile World and Agile Delta. So look, we've got a fantastic lineup tonight for our third mini festival event. We have Shalini with us and we have Charles-Louis, and I'm really looking forward to it, especially after not only seeing Shalini's talk last year at an event where I was also at, but also Charles-Louis was recently with us only a few weeks back and absolutely amazed the audience, the community. I still have the drawings, as I mentioned earlier, over on my server over there from what we did, and I know Chatal was sharing this as well. It's awesome to be here with my good friend and co-host Chatal. So hey Chatal, good to have you here. And also what's great is we have one of the trustees and one of the sort of the main guys from the Agile20Reflect festival here with us, Sath. Hey, good to see you. And just going to literally hand over to Sath for a couple of minutes. Just, say hello, tell everybody a bit more about the festival event and what it actually means for the community. So, Sath, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you for the kind invitation. As ever, I was joining various events just as an attendee or tried desperately to do so. And Chito said to me, oh, it'd be good if you said a few words. So I was like, oh, okay, all right. That was unexpected. So yeah, thank you for the kind invitation and great to be here. And I'm really looking forward to the two talks today. As Giles says, I'm one of the trustees and one of the advisors. I was involved very early on working with my good friend Scott Seavright. Most of you have probably heard of by now because he's certainly kind of well known all over the planet given what's going on. But really the idea here was we wanted to mark the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the manifesto, which is what brought us all together. The original idea had been to do a global retrospective, and not everybody knows that. But a few of us felt that actually that was perhaps a little bit modest. And then we all felt that actually we should be having more of a celebration. So then we thought, well, how do we do that? How do we turn it into something that's more joyous, something that brings people together, something where we kind of have a party? Scott likes a party. So we thought, look, let's have a party, let's turn it into something that has that kind of feel. And, as you can tell from my dodgy Scottish accent, I'm Scottish, I'm based in Edinburgh, and a few of us are based in Scotland. And we thought, well, we could do something based on the Edinburgh Festival, which some of you might have experienced. And that was the idea there. And that's kind of really where the idea grew from. But ultimately, it was about connecting with the whole of the global community, bringing everyone together and celebrating together and reaching corners of the Agile community around the world that perhaps were lesser known, trying to surface new voices, fresh voices, giving everybody something to celebrate and uniting us over this kind of momentous moment that we've kind of reached in Agile's 20-year evolution and journey. And we also wanted to do something which would speak to three key themes, so celebrating the past, all that's good about Agile up till now, marveling in the present, how people are using it, various adoptions, and also contemplating the future. So what you'll have seen, no doubt, over the course of the month of February and the nearly 800 events that have appeared in the program, it's really quite astonishing. We're overwhelmed, frankly, and it's kept us busy, but it's decentralized. So, we've not put in 800 events. I don't know a lot of the stuff that's in there. The global community has done that. The festival was built by volunteers together from around the world. The trustee team is made up of people from all over the world. And that's what's been amazing. And this has all been done collectively by everybody, including many on this call, within the backdrop of the global pandemic. So it's really, really kind of helped a lot of people. I think it's been a lot of success stories. We're getting amazing feedback, but it doesn't end here. So, we're on the 18th today. There's still tons and tons of events in the program. Something for everyone is something we've said throughout. It's been led by the community. And we're just pleased that everybody seems to be having a great time. It's not down to one or two individuals. It's down to, can't count how many, but many people around the global community. So thanks to everyone for being involved. And thanks to Giles and Chito for putting on this amazing event. I'm looking forward to it. And actually, kudos to Giles for putting on the Manifesto Futurespective event, which I enjoyed bits of last week because that was epic. And I loved the close from Laura Powers. I thought it was a fantastic, powerful finish. So well done to you, mate. So yeah, that's it really. Great to be here and looking forward to the session. So thanks for joining, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.
So that's awesome. Chantal, do you want to quickly say anything?
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, I'm so happy that you have joined us. It was literally a bit of a long shot when I said, yeah, come and just sort of talk to us about and tell us a little bit more about the festival. And actually, just by listening to you just then, I just learned so much. Yeah, you guys have done some great things, and actually Giles and I are super proud to be part of this festival, and actually, you know, it's encouraged us to do more as well in the future. So thanks so much for joining us. Giles, let's get started.
Okay, brilliant. Well, look, without further ado, I want to welcome a really good friend, Shalu, who I got to meet really well in 2020, reached out. You know, I went on a bit of a journey with her, especially with some of her talks she took us all on in 2020 as well. Seeing how some of them had evolved over that time. So it was absolutely brilliant. And for one, I was you know, really pleased and really proud that I got the opportunity to actually ask Shalini to come here today. And she said yes, which was absolutely awesome. And wanting to give platform, obviously, to people who are, you know, the up and coming faces and voices in the Agile community, and allowing them to sort of share something that they're passionate about, right? And you know, and for us, this is what this is about. As we were talking to Sath and Charlotte and Shalini in the green room, you know, we know what we do here is for the community, by the community, and as such, you know, giving this sort of platform to, you know, Charlotte and Shalini to come on and actually do some amazing talks and engage us in some amazing thought leadership is why we're all here. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Shalini, and I want to introduce her talk as Embracing an Agile Mindset. So Shalini, over to you. Please do an intro, tell the world who you are, and obviously please feel free to start sharing your screen as well.
Yes. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can as well.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Giles and Sheetal, for inviting me. And thank you, everybody, for joining the session. My name is Shalini, and today I'm going to talk to you about the subject, Embracing an Agile Mindset. Yes, I know that quite a lot of you were eagerly waiting for this talk. And you know what? I can't really wait to deep dive into the subject. But before that, I wanted to ask you which part of the world you're tuning in from. I know that some of you have already shared. We can see that there are people from India, UK, US, USA. Maria from USA. Welcome, Maria. What time is in USA? We have people from Belgium. Wow, amazing. It's 10 a.m. Okay. What is the weather like there in US? We have someone from Croydon. Wow. Slow. Welcome, Nijish. That's great to see, right? I love this. I love meeting people from all over the world. Now that I know which part of the world you are from, let me tell a bit more about me. Okay, but before that, may I ask how many of you here have been to the state of Kerala in southern India, also known as God's own country? So if you have been to Kerala, please update us yes in the Zoom chat. Or if you have heard about Kerala, or if you have any other comments about Kerala, please do update in the Zoom chat. By the way, guys, this is going to be a very interactive session, and my Zoom chat is always open, so please update in the Zoom chat. Oh, I can see Mandy loved it. And we have Monica saying it's on my list. Well done, Monica. We have Bibek saying God's own country. Yes, it is. So yes, I was born and raised in this beautiful state, a wonderful state, where nature kind of encompasses a lot into one's upbringing and growing. And I feel very lucky because this place is full of scenic beauty with lot of rivers, lakes, backwaters, and so on. So I completed my graduation in India, and then I moved to UK in December 2006. And then that is starting of my IT career. I started my career as a graduate software developer and then moved on and played various roles like a software tester, test lead, test manager, a software engineering manager, and so on. So my career was continuously evolving in various forms and roles. And today I'm working as a Scrum Master at IRIS Software Group for almost about a year. See, there are various reasons why one may choose Scrum Master as a career path. For me, this is about two main reasons. I love the fact that Scrum Master has a unique leadership style. Yes, the servant leadership. And I also like that the Scrum Master always bring people together as a coach, as a mentor, as a conflict negotiator. So because of these two reasons, I absolutely love my job. By the way, guys, a quick fun fact about me. I love cooking. I love to try different cuisines and experiment with my family and friends. I'm not sure whether I'm a good cook, but I love cooking. Now, bringing your attention back to today's subject, embracing an agile mindset. Let's see what's the agenda for today. First off, we'll be talking about, I can see here some noise, so if you can mute yourself, please. Thank you. So first off, we'll be talking about misconceptions about Agile. Because for me, it is very important to understand what Agile is not about before we try and understand about Agile mindset and all those good things. Next up, we'll be talking about evolution of Agile Manifesto. Then we'll look into why Agile and what are the various challenges of adopting and scaling Agile in an organization. Then we'll look into what are the various differences between being Agile and doing Agile. Next up, we'll look into Agile leadership and we'll try to understand how a leadership team can support their team members in the Agile journey. Lastly, we will look into everybody's favorite subject, emotional intelligence. Okay, misconceptions about Agile. You know, before I got to understand about Agile and Agile mindset, I always used to think Agile is a methodology. Now, I would like to know from in the Zoom chat, what do you think Agile is? Please do update me in the Zoom chat. What do you think Agile is all about? So I always used to think Agile is a methodology. Does anybody else? Okay, somebody says, Rohit says it's a philosophy. Melinda says it's geology. Okay, it's an umbrella. Somebody says it's a frame of mind. We have Nijish saying software process. Julie saying mindset or set of principles. Okay, I'm getting all those good comments in the Zoom chat. You know, I always used to think Agile is a methodology. And whenever I attend these Agile panel discussions or meetup events, there are three common questions which I always get about Agile. So the first question, is Agile a methodology? The next question which I always get asked is it a process? And the third question which I always get asked is it a framework? Now, before I answer these questions for you, I want to take you through the evolution of Agile Manifesto, and that should help you to understand about Agile and Agile mindset better and clearer. See, back in the 90s, software projects were managed by a waterfall methodology, where the IT projects were developed and managed very structured and so rigid. And customers were extremely unhappy, and their heads were spinning all the time. Why? Because either the projects ran out of budget, or they were not delivered on time, or they delivered the software but with very poor quality. In the worst case, it might be the combination of all the three. But even when the projects were delivered on time with quality, the customers were still unhappy because they might have changed their mind by the time the software got delivered to them. Altogether, the software industry was in desperate need of change. And that is when 17 developers got together and created the Agile Manifesto. And that is the evolution of Agile Manifesto. So we have seen that evolution of Agile Manifesto. Let's look into what is Agile Manifesto. The Agile Manifesto says we are uncovering better ways of working by doing it and helping others do it. Agile Manifesto is defined by 4 values and 12 principles. Let's look into the values. The values are individuals and interactions over process and tools, working products over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiations, responding to change over following a plan. Agile Manifesto is not saying items on the right are not important, but what it is saying is that items on the left are even more important than items on the right. That is, yes, it is very important to have processes, tools, and everything in place. But what is even more important is individuals working together, collaborating together, the team working together. That is more important. It also says, yes, it is very important to have comprehensive or detailed documentation. But what is even more important is to deliver a product what the customers want. It also states that there is no point at all in just signing a contract and get on with software development process. Rather, we would always be communicating and collaborating with the customers. The fourth value emphasizes the fact that, yes, it is very important to follow a plan, but what is even more important is to respond to change. These are the four values. Now, looking at the principles, I'm not going to go to each principle in detail, but on a high level, these principles emphasize the importance of customer collaboration, self-organizing teams, collaboration between the business and the teams, support, trust, etc. So Agile Manifesto is all about 4 values and 12 principles. Now let's go back to the questions which we left unanswered in slide 1. That is, let's clarify some of the Agile myths. So the first question, is Agile a methodology? Well, a methodology by definition means that a system of methods used in a particular area of study or activity. When we looked into the manifesto, nowhere it described any particular methods of developing the software, right? Did we see any? No. All we have seen was 4 values and 12 principles. And hence, Agile is not a methodology. So the next question, is Agile a process then? Well, a process by definition means that a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. Did we see any specific actions or steps taken for developing the software? No. Again, Agile is not about doing something, it's about being something. And hence, Agile is not a process. Moving to the third question. Is Agile a framework then? Well, a framework by definition means that a loose but incomplete structure which leaves room for other practices and tools to be included but provides much of the process required. Well, does Agile fit into this definition? Clearly not. But what fits into this definition is the frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, XP, Lean, all those will definitely fit into this definition. So, Agile is not a methodology, not a process, and not a framework. Okay, we have seen what Agile is not about. We have seen the evolution of Agile Manifesto. We have also seen what Agile is all about. Now, let me ask a question. What do you think the benefits of adopting Agile are? Please let me know in the Zoom chat. What do you think the benefits of adopting Agile in an organization? So for me, I think there are n number of benefits, but I would love to hear from you. So Nijish says adaptability to change. Okay, Nijish. Matthew says solving complex problem. Of course, I do agree, Matthew. Healthy work area, Maria. Yeah, agree, Maria. Flexibility and learning points. And Swami says time to market, flexibility. I can see n number of comments. And you know what? All these are great comments and I completely agree to you. So we all know that Agile brings a number of benefits to the organization. I will share, I've seen your points, but let me share my point why I feel Agile is very important. See, today we are living in a very fast-paced world, right? Where both employers and employees are facing a lot of challenges. If you think from an employer perspective, they're facing challenges like the competition market and the ongoing demands from the customer. See, life is unpredictable and we do not know what is coming next. In this situation, agility is not a choice. Everyone must travel through the turbulent situations and adapt to the daily changing needs and demands. So I'm going to tell you a survey which is done by version 1, which is published on May 2020. As per the report, there are n number of benefits for adopting and scaling Agile in an organization. Let's look into that. As per the report, 71% voted that Agile is helping their organization to accelerate software delivery. 71%. Can you imagine? 3/4 of the group felt that Agile is helping the organization to accelerate software delivery. 63% voted that Agile is helping the organization to enhance ability to manage the changing priorities. As I said before, today's world is all about change, changing needs, demands, etc. So Agile is helping them to manage the changing priorities. 51% of the people voted that Agile is helping to increase productivity. 51%, that's a big number, right? Now, 47% of the people voted that Agile is helping to improve the alignment between business and IT. Apart from that, there are various other benefits, and you all have covered some of the great benefits here, which is similar to the survey done by version 1, that is to reduce project risk, to improve project visibility, and so on and on and on. So Agile is helping all the organization in some way or the another. Now, we all know that Agile is the best, and it is giving many benefits to all the teams and the organization. But what really got me to question this was the same survey, that is the survey done by version 1, also highlighted the challenges in adopting and scaling Agile in an organization. As per the report, one of the highest ranked challenges for adopting and scaling Agile is general organization resistance to change. And 48% of people voted that uh, organizational resistance to change is the number one challenge or the key blocker for adopting and scaling Agile. Can you imagine? It is nearly 50%. That's a big number, right? Then 46% of the people voted that there is not enough leadership participation. 48%. And imagine, like in today's world where we know that there will be constant changes. If you're not getting enough leadership participation, how can we adopt and scale Agile? Then 45% of the people voted that there is inconsistent processes and practices across teams. Then the fourth point, 44% voted that organizational culture at odds with Agile values. But it's very shocking to see year after year, organizational culture seems to be the key blocker or the main challenge for adopting and scaling Agile in an organization. See, people in the organization follow the process and tools to do the nail. For instance, if you're following Scrum in your team, I'm sure you might be following all the ceremonies like the stand-ups, the grooming sessions, the reviews, and the planning, all those good things. Though organization follow all the ceremonies and process, there is still a gap in establishing Agile to its perfection. So the first steps to the first step towards the organizational culture changes, change the mindset of the individual, and that leads to my talk today about the subject, the Agile mindset. Okay, we have seen the importance of Agile. We also seen the challenges of adopting Agile. Let's take a closer look about what an Agile mindset is. And let's look into what are the various differences between being Agile and doing Agile. See, if you're new to Agile or if you're new to an organization, your focus is very much on the practices, process, and tools. You'll be learning about them and you'll be trying to include them in your day-to-day work, right? So for instance, if you're following Scrum, as I told before, you might be doing the daily stand-ups and the sprint refinements and the sprint reviews. So I'm sure you might be all following all these processes. And also the management team will be very happy about it because you're doing Agile. And that is which is represented in the outermost layer of this onion. But you know what? Being agile is very different from doing agile. Being agile is represented as the inner layer of the onion. For being agile, one should embody the 4 values and the 12 principles. But the crux is the agile mindset, which is represented as the innermost layer of the onion. Now, what is an agile mindset? As we already discussed, something that is really inevitable in this world is change. Right from the time we were in the office to us sitting here virtually. But we all adapted to it rather than panicking about it. So basically, accepting the change, embracing it, and moving forward with it rather than reverting negatively or panicking about it is what I understand as an agile mindset. To emphasize, doing agile means following certain practices, process, and tools. And being agile means living the mindset with the values and the principles. Agile mindset is a mindset that is ready to encompass the change and ready to move forward with it. That is an agile mindset. Okay, we have seen what is an agile mindset. Now, since I touched the subject mindset, I would also like to tell about something about the fixed mindset. So, what is this fixed mindset? What do you when I say the word fixed, what are the synonyms which you're kind of getting it? See, for me, when I say fixed, I get these words like static, locked, something cannot be changed. What are the various words which comes to your mind? Let me know in the Zoom chat. Okay, can't change. Yes, Neil Walker says, yeah. So see, someone with a fixed mindset always believe his or her intelligence or personality or character is all static or fixed and cannot be changed. Some of the key characteristics which these kind of people exhibit are they always have this desire to look smart, and because of that, they avoid challenges, they avoid failures, they stick to what they know, and they take feedback as criticism or personal. So these are some of the characteristics a people with fixed mindset exhibit. Would you like to work with a person with a fixed mindset or a team with people who are having fixed mindset? Okay, talking about that, for me personally, I would love to work with people having growth mindset. So we have heard this term, right? A term saying he is agile or she is agile, or this person, this team is having people with agile mindset. What do we mean by that? See, for me, if I'm saying a team is having growth mindset, what I mean is that this team is having different perspectives. They share different ideas, different thoughts. They learn from the failure. You know what? Failure is not a crime, and people do fail. It is okay. But what is important is that they should learn from their failure. Now, he or she should have a growth mindset, always having the willingness to learn. We are looking for a team who are collaborating together, working together. We need a self-organizing team. Do we want to always nod your heads to what managers say? No, we need self-organizing teams. We want people who challenge. You know what? We want people to challenge the management team. We want to challenge within the team. So we are looking for people who challenge themselves and others. We are looking for people who have the willingness to share their knowledge. Yes, learning is very important, but what is even more important is that is the mindset to share that knowledge to others. Okay, a person or a team might be having all the characteristics or some of these characteristics, but if the leadership is not supporting these team members, how do they develop the growth mindset or the agile mindset? And that is bringing me to the next slide about the subject agile leadership. Let's see how leadership team can support their team members in their agile journey. See, embracing an agile mindset requires a deep cleansing. Let me repeat, a deep cleansing for most organizations, particularly for very all organizations with a lot of managerial practices. In enterprise agile transformation, a 50% of the change is required at the manager's level or at the leader's level. for many firms. There was a recent article by McKinsey's, and as per the article, a change is required in the firm's fundamental DNA. There's a lot to unlearn from the traditional management style. What I mean here is a typical command and control style. See, you do not have to pull plants for it to grow, right? All you need to do is provide it with the right, like you nurture it well, right? By providing putting in the right ecosystem, by providing sunlight, water, and soil, and the plants will automatically grow. You do not have to pull it. Similarly, as leaders, you provide the right ecosystem for your team. Most importantly, provide the right space for the team, and they will work well. There's a famous saying, you can lead horse to water, but you can't make him drink. To be short, the top-down bureaucracy simply doesn't work in today's world or in today's leadership style. In Agile, control is enhanced by letting go of control. Let me repeat. In Agile, control is enhanced by letting go of control. Okay, we have seen it is the leader's responsibility to support their team members, to provide the right environment. So since I've used the word environment, that brings me to the next slide. There are two types of environment: a psychologically safe environment and a psychologically dangerous environment. What do we mean by that? See, have you ever been in meetings where no one voice their opinions, where everybody have to kind of nod your heads to whatever your managers say and just listen? This is a typical example for a psychologically dangerous environment. Did you have any experience? Share me in the Charlie. I never had a lot. See, I used to have, years before, I had similar experiences where I just have to nod to whatever my managers say, but not anymore though. So Mandy says lots and lots. Niji says yes sometimes. I'll be difficult age, Matthew Hilton. Okay. Satpal says, agree. Sheetal. Yeah, I think a lot of people says that we all had somewhere or the other, we had experiences where we just have to nod our head to whatever manager says, right? See, this is a typical example for a psychologically dangerous environment. There are a lot of great articles about psychologically safe environment, and every leader should read about it. What is a psychologically dangerous environment? Is the environment where people are fear of admitting their mistakes. Everybody blame each other. They're less likely to share their views. Common knowledge effect. In contrary to this, there is something called as a psychologically safe environment. That is the environment where people are comfortable in admitting their mistakes. And that is the environment where people learn from their mistakes. Everybody openly share their ideas, thoughts, knowledge. And in that kind of environment, there will be innovation. There will be better innovation and decision making. And studies prove that. There is a study done by Amy Edmondson, a professor from Harvard Business School, and also Google. In their study, it has proved that where there is people innovate better when they take risk. So as leader, it is your responsibility to provide a psychologically safe environment for your team members. Okay, we have seen that the leader should provide a psychologically safe environment. How do they do that? See, for a leader to understand about the importance of providing a psychologically safe environment, he or she should have emotional intelligence to a very high degree. Have you heard about the term emotional intelligence? Let me know in the Zoom chat. Has anybody heard about this word in emotional intelligence? See, for me, I came to know about this about a couple of years before. And I was like, what is this emotional intelligence? We have heard technical intelligence or linguistic intelligence. And when I first heard about it, I was like kind of shocked and surprised. So Julie says, yep. Satpal saying EQ. Yes, Satpal, it is EQ or EI. Some people refer as EQ or some people refer as EI. We only have learning opportunities when we fail. Niji says, yep. So, okay, a few of you have heard about it, right? So emotional intelligence is one of the most important skill set for an effective leader. It is a bedrock for agile leadership. Okay, what is mean by emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand your own emotions and also emotions of others. People with high degree of emotional intelligence know what they are feeling, what their emotions means, and also how these emotions can affect other people. Because the reason for emotional intelligence is so important is that if you can't manage your own emotions, it is extremely difficult to manage others' emotions. See, according to Daniel Goleman, an American psychologist who helped to popularize emotional intelligence, there are 5 key elements to it: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. It is very important to be aware of yourself before you are trying to be knowing about others. Similarly, it is very important you to be staying in control yourself, and also it is very important you to be motivating yourself and also motivating others. It is also very important to be empathetic rather than sympathetic. And also, as leaders, it is very, very important to have social skills, collaboration skills, communication skills. See, have you seen leaders who are very assertive, ambitious, warm, decisive? They're very charming, possessive. These people are having high emotional intelligence. In contrary, have you seen some leaders who are very aggressive, very demanding, very bossy, confrontational? They are very selfish and poor listeners. These are the people with low emotional intelligence. Tell me in the Zoom chat, would you like to have a manager or a leader with high emotional intelligence or a low emotional intelligence? For me personally, I absolutely always want to work with a manager with a high level of emotional intelligence. Okay, so very, very low, very high, high, please. Like, yeah, most of you, I know that you want a manager with a very high level of emotional intelligence. So, the key takeaway for today's subject: first, for the leaders, develop your EQ and provide a psychologically safe environment for your team members. Most importantly, trust your team. Do not micromanage them. Provide the space for the team. Next, for the team members, value the trust provided by the manager or a leader. You know what? In today's world, getting trust, getting support, all these things are rare. So when you get it, take that opportunity and take ownership and rock your work. So, for the success of an organization, it is not just the manager's responsibility or just the team members' responsibility. It is a combined teamwork between the team members and the managers, and that will automatically lead to the success of your organization. And that is the end of today's session from me, guys. And thank you all for listening to the subject. And I hope you loved it. So yeah, please let me know in the Zoom chat how you liked about the sessions, any questions, thoughts, feedback. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Shalini, absolutely brilliant. I mean, seriously, we just need to bottle up your passion and somehow share it around to the Agile community. I mean, the fact I don't think you stopped smiling once throughout that. Just exemplary. So, and thank you very much for sharing it. And look at the comments from your friends here in the community piling up now in the chat. And of course, we do open. You know, if people want to come on camera, come off mute. Ask Shalini any questions, please do. I'm going to actually start while other people sort of possibly are thinking about things they would. You know, how do you sort of bring this approach to IRIS, where obviously you work? How is it how well is it received? The sort of the passion and the approach to sort of help get that growth mindset to take place and across IRIS and the teams that you work with.
Yeah, I think so it is almost an year I've been working at IRIS. So when I started, some of the questions which first question which I asked was, like, can Scrum Masters be so young? To be honest, I'm not that young. I'm not telling my age, but there is this perception that Scrum Masters won't smile and they are very old. So I kind of I broke that perception, I think. So see, as a person, for me, it's always about the mindset. And years before, I was, as I told you, I started my career as a developer and then moved as a QA and test lead, test manager. So I was always in the technical line. If, over the years, I understood that there is so much importance for personality or character or the mindset. And people received me for my personality more than my technical skill set. So any organization, so in my 13 years of career, I worked in 8 organizations. Everywhere, I think I could make a mark because of my personality or character. At IRIS, when I landed as a Scrum Master, I could see that there is a lot which I could in the agile transformation. And it's not a journey for just by me. There was a lot of great leaders who worked with me. I think some of the people who are here, like Jim Charvel, who's an amazing leader who worked at IRIS. And there were other leaders as well. It was very well received by the people. The first thing which we did was in the agile transformation, we formed the community, agile community. That was the first step. And then we organized a lot of knowledge sharing sessions. I started a program called as Knowledge Cafe at IRIS that helped the organization to kind of have several sessions like for test automation, for in the DevOps side, etc. We try to utilize any opportunity or every opportunity to bring people together, and that's what for me Agile is all about, bringing people together. So yeah, it's going really well. The community is working well together, and many people are, I think, from IRIS are here, so it's all
Good
going
stuff.
well. Thank you.
All right, so we've got Michael. Michael, great to have you back again. Thank you, obviously, on your own growth journey and learning journey. So good to see you. Over to you with your question.
I'm glad you recognise this growth journey that I'm on, Giles. I'd just like to say, first off, Shalini, you really personify a positive mental attitude, and I think when you go into organisations, people feel that, and positivity goes a long way. Obviously, you're combining it with realism because can't be unrealistic. But what I was going to ask about was, how do you feel? Because I saw a talk recently where a man was saying that he had done a lot of work using Agile and other things like Scrum in software development, but he had actually no understanding of software. And I was just wondering what you might think about that.
Michael, first of all, let me thank you by saying, thank you for your feedback and comments. So thank you. So to your question, see, Scrum, XP, Lean, all these are framework. So Agile is the way of working, and these are like frameworks which kind of supports these Agile ways of working. It doesn't matter which framework we follow. For instance, in my team, I kind of combine the framework called Scrum and XP together. We do pair programming, but one of the main framework which I'm using is Scrum. So for me, it doesn't matter which framework you use. It's all about having, as I said, people working together and the teamwork. So if in your organization, if you're working Scrum, it is fine. XP is also good. We have Matthew from ThoughtWorks here. So thank you, Matthew, for joining. So in ThoughtWorks, they use Scrum and extreme programming combined for many teams. So yeah, I think for me, it doesn't matter which framework to use. It's all about, again, I will again go back to the word, the mindset. So you can combine frameworks and use the Scrumban. Some people use Scrumban, they combine Scrum and Kanban together and use Scrumban. So does it answer your question, Michael?
I just wondered how you felt about somebody coming in as a consultant, doing Agile with software engineers, but not actually knowing anything about software or engineering.
To be honest, for me, if you're an Agile consultant, without having any technical background, still it's fine. because Agile is all about the ways of working. So if I'm getting, for instance, at IRIS, if I'm getting an Agile consultant who can come in and bring that positivity to the team members and bring that, who follows that, someone who is embodying that 4 values and the 12 principles and bringing that positive culture, why not? I'm not looking for a technical excellence. Of course, technical excellence will help in some way or the other, but it's not always about technical excellence.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem, Michael.
Awesome. Right. Who has anyone else got any other questions they would like to raise to Shalini? Please do come off mute and say. I can see Chantal coming in, so.
You know me, I'm always ready with questions.
Okay, sure. Sure, Sheetal, go for it.
Shalini, first of all, that was such a buzzing I'm going to say conversation, because that's what it was. It was you was having a conversation with us, and actually the chat room was absolutely on fire, to the point that I'm actually going to share the transcript afterwards on our meetup channel, because you've really brought everyone to life and put everyone in this kind of great place. So thank you so much for your your passion really comes through, and I love that. So yeah, we'll probably have some offline talks another time.
Sure. Thank you, Shita.
So my question is, okay, so you've got so much passion, so much energy, you come with so much positivity, but not everyone's like that. So you're going to encounter people who are just miserable, they're not positive, they're constantly, the negative Nancy's. And they just don't want to listen. In fact, they want to get you into trouble because you're changing them or you're wanting to change them. How do you handle people like that?
That's a great question, Sheetal. And I'm glad that you asked a situation like this, where it's a pandemic time and a lot of people are feeling a bit dull. In fact, I had a call with my ex-colleague regarding the same subject. Like, he was feeling a bit down and he was reaching out to me just to speak to me because, to kind of get that energy from me, I would say. So, you know what? How can I say this? There are two there is positive and negative, right? And how I'm just trying how to put it. Energy transmits, right? So whenever you're feeling dull or a bit low, talk to people with positivity. See, today's world is it's very challenging, and we all are going through very tough situations, right? And so in that kind of situations, you have to talk to positive people. And for me, if you ask me, Sheetal, how I'm helping others, it is just by being myself. You know what? Because I'm coming from a joint family background, and from a very young age, I had to kind of deal with situations like where nothing was happening as per I wish. I had to always work with others' wishes, and I have to be accepting and adapting from a very childhood days. So that naturally helped me. So it's a natural evolution. It's a natural journey rather than after, I didn't become like this after a certain age. From a very childhood age, I had to kind of be in a joint family with 13 14 person in one family. So naturally I had to be positive. There was no other go. But now I'm enjoying it. Now I'm enjoying it. So if you're somebody with everybody has positive feelings in them. It's only at times when the situations are bad, people get beat down. So please be positive and share your energy to others. And that really means, especially in the situation like this, where it is corona and pandemic, you need to share your energy. Just give a ring, chat to them, have that constant collaboration and communication with people, and participate in the events like this. So that's another tip.
For sure. Thanks, Shalini. That's really, really sound advice. Melinda actually pointed out something that I do quite frequently, and that's just shut up and listen. Just let them talk, let it out. Just let them get it out, because more often than not, there's something deep rooted that's causing this anger, this negativity. I've just got to let them get it out so that we can move on from it. So, but I love the way, that you handle things as well. Thank you. Thanks so much. Any other questions?
Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes left. And would be great if anyone else has got anything else they'd like to ask, then please do come off mute and come and say hi. Anyone else? Okay, look, no problems. We're all good. We're all in a safe space. So with that being said, Shalini, I've got to say thank you very much for just such an inspiring talk. The fact that the conversation is already happening back on LinkedIn currently at the moment as well. There are people putting posts up saying what an inspiring talk. So yeah, absolutely kudos to you for obviously setting the first part of this third mini festival event ablaze. And I'm genuinely happy that Charlotte's got a lot to live up to. Yeah, exactly. Be afraid, be very afraid. Thank you very much indeed, Shalini. We'll come back to have you obviously on at the very end and
Sure.
to give our appreciation and thanks. But it's now time for me to hand over to my good partner in crime, Chital, and obviously Charles-Louis as well. Really looking forward to seeing what amazing things you're going to come up with.
Thank you, Giles. Much appreciated. So yeah, Shalini, just to echo what Giles has said, and I'm sure I'm going to speak for everyone in the room, thank you so much for one, volunteering to come forward during the Agile20Reflect Festival to speak with us, and two, thank you for all the hints and tips that you've provided. And as I said, that chat room has been absolutely buzzing, so I will be copying and pasting that into our comments section in the meetup, so everyone else can have a good read as to what's been spoken about, because there's some really interesting conversations happening there, and you created that, so thank you. Yeah, big round of applause, everyone. Right, so next up we have the awesome Charles-Louis from Belgium. And this is actually, he did a talk with us just last month, was it? Was it last month?
It was last month. It was last month.
This flies so quickly. Oh my God, it's just, sorry. My brain is just a bit fried.
4 weeks ago, in fact. So there you go.
Crazy. So yeah, where he introduced us to, how to kind of create stories and write stories in a visual way. And that completely blew me away. And so, we were really keen to bring Charles into the festival. And here he is going to talking to you about the current state of Agile, and also kind of giving some insights around how we've moved from a world of Agile where we're face-to-face, we're having workshops, we've got work, our Post-its, Sharpies, all the good stuff that comes along with what we do. And then suddenly we're all moved to online, and, the face-to-face conveyance of information has switched. So, so without further ado, Charles-Louis, I'm going to hand it straight over to you.
Thank you so much, Chital and Giles, and Shalini. Really, thank you for this inspiring talk. We're going to see like how it works afterwards, but I really like that you also set the stage. Like putting us back into this whole agile mindset. So right. Thanks also, Chital, for introducing this talk, and I really like how you also put us back into the situation where, like 1 year ago, we were all jolly, happy in rooms with Post-its and Sharpies, and hugging each other. No, I mean we all globally. And suddenly we can't, and this dreaded principle about face-to-face conversations is haunting us, and like, okay, what happens now? And we are not face-to-face anymore. Maybe we are. So the title of my talk is no, okay, that's not the right button. That's the right button. No, okay, I'm trying to change the camera. For some reason it doesn't want to. Okay, so this is the live. Here it is. How has Agile changed the world? And this one, is a nod to our previous event.
I will have to share the Post-it note now. Here we go. There is the Post-it note.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I did a cruder version. So, it's interesting. We're celebrating the 20-year, the birth of the writing of the Manifesto for Agile Software Development, and we're 20 years later, and I thought it could be a good way to start. I mean, I'm not going to do a futurospective or something, it has already been done, but it could also be good to look back into how the world was maybe 20 years ago. So for that, you know, once upon a time, 20 years ago, how did the world look like? Well, for one, it was 2001. Nothing to do with the movie, but there have been loads of things happening in 2001, not only in the software world, that have, you know, the world one is in a certain situation. And what I'd like is to have an exercise where we can look back at how the world was at that time, how the writing of the Agile Manifesto came into being, and how it led the world into what it is today. All right. So for this, and this is going to be like just like I would like to send you off into breakout groups. All right. So this is going to be an exercise where you're going to be for 5 minutes in a breakout room. And Shetal, maybe if you could make rooms for roughly 6 people.
I'm gonna do. I'm already there at the moment.
Oh,
so
okay.
so we need 5 rooms then for 6 people.
Yeah, you can just put them around. Oh, yeah, so I'm saying there will be breakout groups. So if you are shy and if you don't like to talk to others, it might be a good time to leave. All right. So
oh no, don't leave. Just turn off your cameras and just get yourself on mute. That's enough. So you can still stay and enjoy.
So Charlotte, how long would you like them for? So 5 minutes.
5 minutes. And so there will be 5 breakout rooms.
There's going to be six breakout rooms.
Okay, great. Because what I like is maybe, you know, that one room focuses on the state of the software industry in 2001. What was it like? Okay, so this is going to be room 1. Okay, Giles, can you maybe type it in while I say it, so that people remember when they're in the room?
I'm going to get, so while I'm dealing with breakout rooms, I'll get my good friend, partner in crime, Shetal, to do it.
So, room 1, what was the state of the computer industry in 2001? We've already had some hints and types in the chat during Shalini's talk. All right. So the state of the software industry. The second one, I would say culture. What was it like? You know, today we've got Netflix, we've got Disney Plus, we've got whatever, but what was it like 20 years ago? Culture. Room 3, politics. Because it's part of life as well, you know. What was the world like in 2001? Some people might remember the month of September, you know. I don't know. Okay. You still remember? Yeah. I also remember. So it's like, so room 3, politics.
So it's still in 2001, yeah?
Excuse me?
Are we still?
So it's all about looking at the world in 2001.
Okay.
All right.
So there's 5 rooms, Charles, Louis. 5
rooms. There's 5 rooms. Room 4, it will be about the industries. What were people talking about? What were the big industries at that time? Remember, we didn't have iPhones or mobile, you know, we did have mobile phones, but we didn't have like these fancy gadgets. And room 5, you get to pick a topic, but just try to look at the world in 2001 on a specific thing. So you get to pick. So you will surprise us.
So when would you like us to start then, shall we?
So you will start in 30 seconds. I will first give the rest of the instruction. When you come back, you tell us in 1 minute the highlights of how the world was in that time through your lens. Okay. And what we'll do afterwards, we'll use that to see how we have evolved the world and what part Agile has played into that.
Okay. Sorry, what was that again? Sorry, I missed it.
So your focus for the next 5 minutes in breakout rooms is look at the world in that time. You may use Google, you may use search engines, you may use your memory, take real data, you know? Okay, so just find back things, maybe find a stupid commercial of 2001? I don't know, but really try to look back. How was the world like in 2001? Imagine what it was like at that time when the Agile Manifesto came in, boom, all right? When you come back, each room has 1 minute to share the highlights, whatever they discovered, all right? And then afterwards, we're going to make the link, all right? Any questions on the assignment?
I think we're good. Hope so.
Okay, see you back in 5 minutes.
Michael, Melinda, Stephen, hi everyone.
Hello.
So we're the ones that get to record this.
Fabulous.
Yeah. So if you do prefer me to stop recording, that's absolutely fine. I can do that. So then we can just then continue on because this will go on YouTube. So it's up to you.
Just do my hair.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
I'll just do my hair as well.
I've given up with my hair.
Right. So what have we been allocated in rooms? We are room 3. So room 3 was politics. Great.
Oh, the room I least wanted to be in. Fabulous.
I think during that time I was probably quite ignorant about politics. I don't think I was that bothered at the time. So let's look at politics. So shall we? I'll tell you what I'll do. I will do a screen share, and then we can Google some things. And if someone else can take notes, how does that sound?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, obviously the big thing in 2001 was the attack on the trade towers. I definitely remember that moment.
Yes.
I was working back in the early creation of e-learning software platforms back in the day, doing Perl and
wow.
while I was doing the HTML front ends and doing the designing and stuff. And I remember that very distinctly happening, and just all of us being glued to BBC News on the internet and flicking.
University. Yeah, I was just wrapping up university. I remember this. I remember going to my friend's house, and he was watching the trade towers footage on TV, and I just thought it was a program of some kind. I didn't think it was real.
I'd actually spoken to people working in one of the towers the week before.
Right. Wow.
So yeah.
Ouch.
Very surreal.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Of course, then the immediate response of upping security alerts, and then obviously the next war, etc., following on from that, and also a lot in that time. IT was struggling at that time. In the UK, I remember this because for the company I worked for, we had to go half time, half pay for a while, because that was that whole internet crash.
Oh yeah.
Because you had all those companies that were coming on, basically selling domain names and IP spaces and all those sort of things, and you're having a lot of venture capitalists having to fund you, etc. And when your time was up with one, you had that fight to try and get the next venture capitalist to fund you a bit more. And I remember actually at one point getting a check. We'd get a check and we'd have to run down the stairs at lunchtime across to the bank and try to get our checks in first, because we knew that maybe they would bounce. So we wanted to be the first ones for the checks to clear when we were getting paid.
Wow. Crazy times, wasn't it? So the other thing, as a result of the trade tower collapse, though, just sort of going back to that, we were then introduced to the annoying concept of having to travel with 100ml bottles in airports.
Yes.
Right? So that was something that came out on that. Was that a political move? I'm not sure, but it was a huge kind of, was it global? Did it go global?
Yeah, I think most airports and checks changed from that point on, and things started taking longer and obviously a lot more security.
Yeah.
What do you? I can only see it, but I'm going to change my view because all I can see is yourself, Chateau.
Oh yeah, if you just go into gallery, not gallery view.
Yeah, it's this. There it is. There's my view. I should know how to use this by now. There we go. I've missed you all. There you go. Yeah. So I was just about to ask what the gentlemen were thinking.
We had Tony Blair as Prime Minister, didn't we?
We certainly did.
And
yeah.
And in the years leading up to 2001, we had this thing of Cool Britannia, the sort of branding of Britain. And the idea that, you know, we were leaders in the music industry and fashion brands and creativity. So that was kind of, I think that was in the psyche in this country by 2001. So that was one side, and obviously, as you know, the major event was obviously 9/11, which just changed everything. Certainly, you know, in the city.
Okay, I think we're going to be redirected in a few seconds, but I think we've got a handful of stuff here. So yeah, Melinda or Michael, would one of you like to take on this, share the highlights?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'll save Michael this evening.
We'll see you on the other side then.
I'll save you this evening, unless you want to say.
No. I think you've probably got it dealt with.
Was sworn in politics.
Sorry?
George Bush was sworn in.
Of course he was. Yeah. George Bush was president at the time.
I'm trying to think if there's anything we can catch before we leave the room.
Yeah, there was big demonstrations at the G8 summits back at that time as well, and I'm only remembering that because I just saw it flick past.
And the war in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that happened straight after 9/11.
Okay, time's up.
Time is up.
So just before we go into this thing, I will put it back into gallery view, and you may come off mute, and I would like, could anyone share how was it, these 5 minutes with your group?
Oh, it's fun. Thank you. Yeah.
Lots of thumbs up.
Yeah.
Went really quickly. We didn't have enough time.
Come on, no, not enough time.
Right.
People always complain about 5 minutes, don't they?
We were very grateful for Wiki.
We all got a little bit depressed.
Oh, Melinda. Oh.
Yeah, we were very grateful for Wiki though. So good old Wiki helped us out.
Wiki helped. Okay, does anyone just, when was Wiki created?
I know. How do I not?
2001.
2001, yeah.
Imagine that. You know, again, something we didn't have back then. Cool. So,
we used to use Encyclopedia Britannica before then.
Yes. You know, it's just like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You know, everyone's always going for the guide because it's slightly cheaper and it's probably inaccurate, but it's cheaper and yeah. So that's the Douglas Adams reference. He also died in 2001, by the way. Anyway, so Giles, you were not in a room.
I was not in a room.
So can you please give me a number between 1 and 5?
Okay, I'm going to go with 3.
Okay, room 3. So that was Jim, Melinda, Michael, Chantal, and Stephen.
So
what have you grasped?
Yeah, Chantal threw me under the bus. So no, we very
bossy.
Always.
Bossy. I am a passionate lady, not bossy.
Oh, Chantal is.
Oh, we were saying Chantal's bossy.
Oh no, okay. Well, I'm probably the same, to be fair. I was just, but yes, basically, nothing wrong with being assertive, Chantal. Basically, obviously, we did remember the Twin Towers, and I remembered the exact moment I was at that point. But we also talked about, obviously, George Bush was the president that year for the US. Tony Blair was our Prime Minister at the time. Of course, everything changed after that in general, everything from security checks to obviously the war in Iraq and the planning of that. But also, Michael reminded us that we were in a kind of a cold Britannia period at that point as well when Tony Blair came. You know, we were kind of a leader of lots of things that time, music, fashion, etc. And I also remembered the fact that we had the internet crash then. Does anyone else remember that? Basically around that time, you know, I was running to the bank to cash my check to hope it cleared first, because venture capitalists were behind a lot of internet companies at that time. There was a lot of domain hosting companies and all sorts of things like that, ISP providers. And a lot of people got made redundant around that time in the IT industry.
Okay. Thank you. Group 3. So Melinda, thank you for sharing. It was indeed all times. Imagine that, you know, like getting your payments, running to the bank to get some payments. Crazy. Okay, so can you give me a number between 1 and 5, but not 3, please, because 3 has already gone.
I'll go with number 4.
Number 4. Okay, so number 4, that was industries. So Matthew, Monica, Neil, and Saf.
Yeah, I volunteered myself, I think. So industries, so things like, well, we highlighted things like banking. You know, we had banks on every high street. This was the days before we had smart cards, so everybody had cash. You know, that we didn't have Aldi and Lidl in the UK, but they had them in Germany. And in other locations they didn't have those. We had things like Woolworths and HMV, places where we could go and physically touch a CD, buy some music and feel like it's, you know, this is good, it's tangible, as opposed to having to download it and then forget about it. Books, we didn't have Kindle back then. Some of us went to libraries. That's where they keep books. You know, so what else did we cover there? There was some crazy times.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for talking about the CDs and the DVDs and the HMVs and you know, BitTorrent was also created in 2001. Imagine that, you know. So yeah.
What about Napster? When did that come out? That was the 90s.
That was in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. MP3 already existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had a library full of MP3s.
Winamp. No. Anyone used Winamp?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, thank you. So, who do you want to go for? 1, 2, or 5?
I think 2.
2. Okay, we're keeping the big surprise of room 5 till the end or something. Okay, so 2 is Alberto, Grant, Josh, Mandy, Rohit, and Shweta.
Yeah, hi. We were talking about culture, and it was. Oh, sorry, I'm now looking at myself with a chat box right in the middle of my face, so it was very off-putting there. Yeah, no, it was very interesting because I think for me it was the best working time of my life, and it was sharing, and it wasn't so much what we were doing; it was just the people I was with, and yeah, I think the quote I used was the culture eats strategy for breakfast, because it was with can-do people that everything was possible. It was just a question of time and money, and I think that I hope that sort of resonated with other people in the group, that it was just it's regardless of everything else that's going on, it's the people that are with you on a day-to-day basis make the difference in what you do and how you do it. So hopefully I've forgotten everything. I didn't take enough notes, really. I was kind of getting swept along with it, so yeah, my memory is a little shaky. So hopefully if anybody has thought of something else that I should have mentioned, please let me know.
We didn't have any Facebook. We had no
we didn't have Facebook. Yeah,
so we were limited.
Yeah, no social media. We were good. We were going out with friends, going out more. And no one heard about Agile that time, so it just came out. So yeah, so but Grant, you did very well. So you remembered all of it.
all the bits I thought.
Yeah, you did remember about Facebook, which is brilliant.
I am,
because
I
we don't
very
like Facebook.
social media presence, I'm afraid.
That's good. We don't like Facebook.
Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm gonna. Time's up. I lost. Usually, I've got a big sun timer of 1 minute, but I lost it. So I'm just playing by ear now for the timing. So thank you. So Rohit, since you're still like on the big screen, can you give me a number? I mean, you can choose 1 or 5.
I'll go for 1. Number 1.
Okay. So 5 is like the mystery all along. So 1 is Orimus, Brianna, Diola, Hardip, Shalini, and then E.
Yeah, no problem. So Rohit, thanks. I was hoping
knew
to say
you were there. So I knew, Brianna, you were there. So
yeah, you know it would be. All right. So let's start off with the big things. Let's see, WorldCom, Health South, and the dot-com bubble burst. The reason I bring this up is because it also leads to the Enron scandal. Being in Houston, Texas, I feel that we need to absolutely bring that up. That's when the big, some of you may or may not know, but the big trading scandal, Enron had a huge trading floor and they were trying to trade broadband. That may not be widely known, but they were trying to move outside the oil and gas assets that they had. Well, they had sold off other oil and gas assets, but basically they were trying to move into that broadband space and it was an epic failure. And the gentleman who was responsible for it then committed suicide in my hometown. Fun fact, okay. All right, other things that were happening. So the MacOS was released, so that's the Mac OS. XP came out to deal with the blue screen of death, if anybody remembers that space. I don't know if any of you had this problem, but I was heavy into the GIS space at that time. Licenses crashed all the freaking time. Netscape was popular. Napster went to court. You have Google starting to eat Yahoo for lunch, and you have the rise of YouTube. So that's kind of a quick rundown of what the software sort of space was happening in 2001.
Thank you. Time out. And I see also in the chat AOL. Oh, I remember these CDs that they were dumping all over the place.
I had loads of those through the post.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, so what a world in 2001. So I wonder, room 5. What do you want to talk about?
So I was thrown under the bus and asked to be the spokesperson for the room. So we just thought, well, let's mix it up. But so a lot of depressing things happened in 2001. So sadly, to end something with depressive facts. First depressive fact is that in 2001, the ex-president Trump had suggested that he was going to go into politics. That was a pretty depressing thing to happen. The gunman attacked a Parliament building in the Indian capital, New Delhi, leaving at least 12 people dead. Obviously, the incident with the aircraft 9/11 occurred. There was a number of dead there. In Switzerland, a gunman kills 14 in Swiss government buildings. There was a fire in the Gotthard tunnel joining Switzerland between northern Italy and the Alps, and that killed 39. Yeah, so
okay,
pretty depressing.
Whoa! So thank you, Paul and Room 5.
Now.
So you basically Googled the sad things that happened in 2001 or something?
No, I've not stopped yet. I've not finished. 120 people killed in the stampede.
Wait. Time off.
Time out. Yeah.
Time out.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, Paul.
Oh, thanks, Paul. And you know, it's you know, you bring these sad things, and I think in any way, in any evolution, in any growth, it's also about and you know, Shalini also talked about growth mindset earlier on, and also about, like, there was this question about how do you do with people who don't want to change and so on. But you know, at each change, we need to let go of something. So I wanted to make this the depressing moment where we all could look back at 2001 and look at everything that we don't have anymore. But thank you, Paul, for already having missed my opportunity to make you all sad. So now you can all look back that you don't have HMVs anymore, you don't have CDs, you don't have banks on every street corners. Now it's all coffee shops that you can't enter. You know, so you know, the world has changed a bit in 20 years, and quite a bit. You know, imagine if this virus would have happened 20 years ago, we wouldn't have had this. You know, this amazing festival, like these more than 800, Seth, how many? 800 or something? events.
Not quite 800, but
okay.
You never know. We might still get over 800.
So imagine that all these events with people from all over the world in like video and sharing things across time zones. We would have done that in meeting rooms with dial up numbers where we would have to enter passcodes with the right numbers and enter the hash key after each, and I see some people smiling. Brings back memories. But imagine that. So evolution is always about letting go of something for something else. It might be better, it might be worse. The only thing that is sure is that it's different. And in a way, when we look at in this whole context, we had the politics with the different terrorist attacks which have increased the security in airports. So travel became much more difficult. Now we can't travel anymore. Imagine that. But it has nothing to do with terrorism. All these industries, like the CD industry and everything, the culture, everything is possible. We were in a can-do attitude. Well, I think we still are. I'm not sure that has changed, because some people, when some people tell me that they want their teams to be more agile, I ask them, hey, what has happened in the last 5 months with your teams? In the last 10 months? Look at them. Work is still happening. People are still, doing the work, although they have completely disrupted their work environment. I mean, it's not work environment. They're at home during a pandemic trying to work, having kids running all over the place saying, Papa, Papa, I want to eat. Mommy, when is the dinner ready? Whatever. I want to pee. If they're very small and you need to bring them to the toilet, imagine that, being in a board meeting and having to deal with your little child that suddenly needs to go to the toilet, So this is suddenly and I like it. Somebody put in the chat earlier on during Shalini's talk that Agile is all, I think it was Melinda, it was all about bringing more human to the work. I completely misquoted you on that, but it was something about bringing more humanity in the workplace.
And making people awesome.
Is what?
About making people awesome.
About making people awesome. And acknowledging that we're humans, that we can make mistakes, that we may fail and learn from it. And I think the key thing that we have learned right now, if now you see someone with children running behind them, they will not try to shut the door and have their wife, you might remember that BBC presenter from 2017. He missed it a few years later. No one would have cared. Suddenly we all acknowledge that we're human, that we have a life outside of work. And to me, this is, I think, one of the biggest takeaways from the Agile movement that has helped put this like in the business. We started having, some of us are cats. Yeah. This meeting has been called illegally. Who's the chairman? So we started to acknowledge that we are human, that we can have feelings, and to me this is one of the things that the Agile movement has brought about the failability of humans, and introducing feedback loops so that we could adapt from it. And the chat is on fire now, all talking about cats. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you don't have the chat, you're missing on something amazing. You should have come here, So I don't know, I maybe, does anyone have something to share where they notice, okay, one thing that I experienced through my Agile life discovery journey or whatever, something that I've experienced at work that probably would have been not done like 20, 30 years ago. This, for instance.
Meow.
So maybe I can share a story, and I will spotlight myself again. I can share a story. I think it was one of my first gigs as a Scrum Master. I had kind of, I mean, officially as a Scrum Master, I had already read the guide back then. I think it was in 2012, 2013. And I was in a consultancy firm where we were doing the work for a client, and the client would come like at the end of every sprint. No, not at the end of every sprint. They were invited for the end of a certain sprint, the first one where I was as a Scrum Master. So what happened, it was a SharePoint project. And the client was there, and what happened is that suddenly everyone was showing their bit on their computer and passing around the VGA cable. I don't know if any of you are familiar with VGA cables. So they were just passing on the cable so that they could show the bit that was working on their machine. We also just had a new CIO at a company who was also there looking at the demo. And when the client left, the CIO was like completely pale, like, okay, he asked the team, what happened here? Well, you know, we just showed us stuff. And he's like, okay, you know, you all shared a bit and showed what was happening on your machine. I'm not at all confident that it all works when it's put together. What do you think the client thinks? You know? And, you know, awkward silence. And then you continued asking them and giving them feedback, but you know, it was Friday afternoon, and we had a retro planned after that. And I said, hey, you know, dear new CIO, I'm totally with you on this. And you know, we've got a retro plan, so I would ask you to leave the room. Maybe you get a quick break, and then we'll come back for the retro, but just the team. All right, okay, no problem. So you know, we had. Everyone went for a drink and for a quick break. And when the retro started, half of the team still wasn't there. They were actually still talking with the CIO next to the drinks. So me, freshly appointed Scrum Master, him, CIO. I say, okay, you know, I totally appreciate you hanging out with the people, but I need them for the retro. It's Friday, end of week. You know, at some point, people will want to go home and greet their family or something. He's like, okay, you're totally right. Sorry, you know, so I kind of cut off the new CIO twice in like 10 minutes. People were already looking at me like, oh. And so we did a retro. And just before closing the laptop, I saw that I had gotten an email from the CIO who in the meantime had left. He said, shall we? I think we need to talk. What do you think about Tuesday sometime? And then, you know, that was like Friday, end of week. Imagine how my weekend went. You can put in the chat, how do you think my weekend went? Horrible. Anxious, miserable. Beer. Yes, beer. Okay, always. Yeah, shit. Yeah. No, I didn't kill any cats. Yeah, totally. So, I mean, my weekend, you know, newly appointed Scrum Master, we've got a new CIO, and I like cut him off twice in 10 minutes. And I see that email. I was like, okay, you know, this, yeah. Very apprehensive to that. Yeah, on the toilet. So I was quite apprehensive, and then on the Tuesday I entered the meeting shaking, you know, shaking my legs a bit, and then having a seat. And he was like, okay, he had, you know, his files, his documents, and I was like, okay, what's that? Is there any resignation or whatever letter? And but actually he told me, you know, Shalini, I really appreciated what you did. I'm like, what? He's like, you know, it's the first time that somebody actually told me and put me back into my, you know, place, like show the importance of the meeting, of also the importance of time, that people needed to return home at the correct time. And it's the first time that somebody said that to me. And I really appreciate that. And I would like this to happen more. So imagine suddenly I was thinking about my weekend. I was like, okay, you know, you know that I told him I spent a horrible weekend because I was very anxious. You know, your mail was just 2 lines. We need to talk. But it was great because in the end, he really appreciated the transparency and also the fact that although I was like just a Scrum Master, I didn't fear talking to him. And I think that was in 2012, 2013, and I'm glad that he did that, because to me it was really it showed that he valued that part of Agile, which is which is not always seen. Because we saw it also in the version 1 report. When people talk about Agile, it's like maybe faster time to market or less bugs or something like that. It's all about software. But the people aspect, the being able to, Tobias Maere talks about speak truth to power. And it's about all these things that, I don't know. I mean, I was still a student in 2001, so I don't know how the workplace looked like in the 80s or in the 90s, but I think it must have been quite different. I don't know, the movie The Office, when was that? The Office must also be like early 2000s, right?
And I was thinking it must be early 2000s, yeah.
So the horrible bosses from that time. I mean, you look at Dilbert, you look at people, and this is something that I really appreciate, and I think it's important, and this is something important to share. So I've shared mine. Anyone wants to share theirs?
Maru's sharing, you haven't seen the German spin-off of The Office.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I don't mind being on record, but you should check. I don't even know how to say this, but it's called Stromberg, and you haven't seen anything that horrible in your life. Just watch it.
Okay, can you type the name of that in the chat?
Just go on YouTube and you'll find
Stromberg.
it.
Okay.
And it was very successful, but in Germany. So.
Okay. So for those who speak German,
maybe you'll find subtitles. Maybe there's somebody who's compatible somewhere in the world. And
yeah, I lived 1 year in Bavaria, so I that's where I learned German, and lots of Germans laugh when I say that, but that's fine.
Well, lucky you. You won't waste your time if you go check it out. But yeah, there was a shift. I can report on my experience very quickly. That I got out of engineering school in 2006. And the years I spent before working in different software companies, I don't want to say any names, but really major ones, like the biggest one in Europe, for example, the way we were treated, the software engineers, and at that time there was not so many coders, so there was not the distinction. Almost everybody who was programming had a real engineering degree in computer science there, and we were underpaid. People who were doing an internship in management made double as much as us. We got the most horrible desks and offices. We were always working in the basements, always getting all the stinkiest places. Our hardware, I mean, even the way people talk to us or treated us, and there was a shift at some point. I don't know what happened until when it was definite. Is when people noticed that there were some guys making a shitload of money and becoming millionaires, billionaires across the world in USA. And then people started very slowly, some people started thinking that maybe they can do something. Maybe we don't have to just push down the most horrible pieces of work down their throats and ask them to do it in half the time. Because they were trying to do the agile part, but only the output part, They were already trying. No matter how much you promised, they would ask you to do it in half the time. And there was a shift. There was a shift around, for me, around 2012, 2013, 14. And it started propagating its snowball effect. It started becoming more and more. But I related to the start of the startup movement, or the first big startup successes in the US. That's how I correlated.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that, Maru, because the start of the I mean, and especially IT startups, it's all about short feedback loops. When we look back at 2001, we didn't have like the Office 365 or software that updates every day. Like when Microsoft started proposing automatic updates, everyone went like crazy. Who do they think they are updating my computer? And nowadays with mobile phones, with everything, I put everything on auto update because I don't want to be bothered with clicking on except for every little patch that is done. And startups and the lean startup movement, it's also about like doing something with almost no money but guarantee revenue. And this is far away for the big big designer prompt thinking, like let the people who did the big studies in universities or whatever do the thinking, and then the doers do the work. And I can relate to the coders being talked upon like they're just doers, so they don't have brains, they just need a code. Yeah.
I mean, talking about IT as a cost unit, it was way worse back in the time. It was really worse. It was just I don't know. We get the cheapest ones we get no matter where in the world. We don't care about these guys. They're just delivering something. They're just brains we're gonna extract some juice out of. So
yeah,
do it, you slaves. Yeah.
Thanks.
That's how it was.
I see that Michael is raising his hand. So Michael, if you'd like to share.
Yeah, I think it's there's a positive shift in terms of the way companies, not all companies, but a lot of companies are operating in terms of the way they're treating staff because of social, because people can go online now and write reports of I worked at such and such company, this is what happened to me. And it has a big effect on the recruitment at companies, because when people realize that potentially it's a terrible place to work, they're not going to be keen to join it, you know. And I've worked at a lot of different companies, and you know, I know with some of the ones that were really bad, people actively went online and wrote reports extensively about their experiences, and it really affected those companies. And I think as time goes on, hopefully workspaces will be better for people in general. And the idea of this psychological space that was spoken about earlier, you know, I think that hopefully will become more prevalent.
Yeah, totally. And you know, in one of the principles of the manifesto is also about sustainable pace, and in what other project methodologies or whatever, and I know, Shalini, it's not a methodology, yeah, but in what other things that we bring to work have you seen something about sustainable pace? Okay, so I see 3 hands coming up, and I think it was first Brianna, then Giles, then Paul. So, Brianna.
All right, so my current organization it was founded by a Southern Baptist, and in 2001, the rules were women still had to wear pantyhose and dresses. So it was really ridiculous when women were running network cables in the rafters or on the ground, climbing under tables in pantyhose and dresses and skirts, trying to run cable. It's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Oh,
so the rules have been changed, but now if you look at like even 2021, you can't even talk people back into offices now. Like the same organization doesn't even want anybody who's in technology back in the offices because they're desperate to cut costs, and they find out, holy heck, people are a lot happier if we let them be at home. And everybody shows up in whatever they want to wear, you know, like I've seen, like we're trying to now discuss what is considered appropriate etiquette for showing up on a Zoom call, you know, but, you know, because you do have to have some level of clothing on.
Yeah.
Maybe something a little bit more appropriate, but, you know, like it's gone from extremes. You must wear this to what is the threshold of what is tolerated now,
yeah.
You know?
No.
And it gets back to the what we were talking about, you know, the correspondent for BBC and even the CEO of Trivago, whose son came charging in, like it's like totally human now. You want to see the kids, you want to see the pets interrupt because you're just all of a sudden happy. It's like these people are real and they are, you know, they have to handle the same situations we do. But anyway, these extreme shifts.
I love this, what you're saying. These people are real, and I think this is key. You know, this is something. We are all real people. We all have our lives. We all have our thing. I did something the other day, and my kids were doing a Nerf gun war inside the house at the same time, and it was fun. But yeah, real humans, exactly. So I think then it's Giles and Paul and Chantal, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to share something beyond what Maere was talking about and some of the things that you were touching on, Shalini. You know, I mean, I'm not going to age myself, but I'm about to. Back in the days of Windows 3.2 0.1 point very early when we were in the workplace after graduate, and believe you me, university didn't even have anything called internet. It was CompuServe, and the emails didn't even exist. So you know, that was proper work just for those millennials that just sort of copy and paste their essays and other things, and have got all their degrees without actually having to spend time in those mythical places that Neil was talking about, libraries. Anyway, well, rant over. The story was, we used to work in basements, and we were actually treated fairly, inhumanely. We were not to be seen or heard. We were not to be spoken to. Genuinely, it was kind of, you didn't meet or mesh with the rest of the business people. And you were talking about updates, Charlotte, and how updates are rolled out. Physically, we were there with your 1.4 meg floppy disk, and we used to come out after work as soon as everybody else had done across an entire organization, and go and take that one floppy disk and go and do a floor or a room and update every single Olivetti 386, 486, whatever it was, and get them all updated that way. And of course, feedback didn't happen for weeks later. And then of course you had all the problems with the computers that didn't want to boot after you did your updates. And oh my God, you used to just literally walk around with floppy disks in your pockets, because that was the way you would actually sort of get called up from the basement. The fun thing was, though, because we couldn't see outside, we used to print off the Windows 3.1 logo and stick it up on the wall. Now, of course, even printers back then were not bigger than A4 or letter for our colleagues on the other side of the pond. And so, of course, that was it. But we used to sort of stick lots of them in sort of front of us where we were on the walls. It was brilliant.
I'm cutting you off because I see still two other hands raising.
Oh, brilliant. Please do.
I'm looking at time, so thank you. Yeah, I mean, crazy to hear about this working in basement. And I was still a student there, and through the computer room was also like in a place where the sun doesn't shine. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, Paul. Oh, I think that might mean something else, a place where the sun doesn't shine. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the writing's on the wall. I'm a big fan. I don't know if anyone else here is familiar with Otto Scharmer's work, but I'm really a big fan of his theory U concept. Talks so moving from ecosystem to ecosystem. We clearly live in an age of disruption. Climate change, etc., etc. The gap between the rich and the poor has continued to grow. So we're learning from this collective consciousness, and being more human. And I know that's kind of touted quite a lot in a lot of the consultancies reports, but we're literally presenting now from our lounge or our bedrooms. You can't get much more human than that. So I think, where does Agile fit into that? I think Agile was really what was the catalyst for change, and it continues to be. And it's the movement, and we're all part of that. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Totally, Paul. Yeah, thank you. And I think when you all talked about the shift in seeing the computer people, like bespectacled men, working in basements and not speaking to anyone and afraid of sunlight, maybe vampires, I don't know, and this shift, I think, happened when also maybe the Agile movement and the extreme programming and all these lightweight methodologies started to gain traction, where suddenly, okay, these people have a brain, they can understand business, we can talk to them in layman's terms and they respond to us in layman's, okay, not always, but we can have a kind of common understanding, and that's fantastic. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Chantal.
Shalini, yes. So I've got something interesting to say, because I still feel that even in the Agile world, there was a lot of us still not quite bringing the human to work. So we were still going into the offices, we were still doing 9 to 5s, we were still not taking our breaks, we were still working overtime. All of this stuff was still happening, even in the Agile space. Now, I'll be honest with you, nothing grated me more. So I was one of the key people that would just completely change the game and say, look, you're not paying for my time, you're paying for my value. So that was one thing I always used to kind of hone in on. And the number of times I've got into trouble for saying that is unbelievable. So please don't try this at home just yet, unless you're confident. But what I feel is that is exactly what everyone's saying. COVID has actually pulled the human out of us. I think that's where Agile and COVID have actually done us all a huge favor. And that is realizing that we can change really quickly, realizing that we can work from home. That's realizing that.
I would just, what you said, we can change very quickly. If you're in the Agile world or whatever, and if people are complaining about teams not doing anything or whatever, remind them that their teams are still working, even though they're all working in a situation that's not like office. Sorry for interrupting, but this is key. Thank you.
No, absolutely agree with you. So yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I just wanted to say. I just think that now that these two worlds have collided, I think we're actually up for bigger, better things. The future is going to be really good. And I'm actually quite excited to see how organizations start the shift of bringing Agile more closer to them, but not only that, but bringing more the human element into workplaces as well.
Yeah, totally. Thank you, Chantal. And you know, it's you talk about these worlds colliding, and people have long time been talking about work-life balance. I scratched the word balance from my dictionary and I replaced it with integration.
Yeah.
It's much easier then to talk about work-life integration. Then you decide what part you put, because it's not about weight. It's about like, how much time do I want to spend on this or that?
And you know, I think there's that realization that those people with children, when they were in the office on the phone trying to sort things out for school-related stuff, there was a need for that, and there was a need for putting time aside for that kind of thing as well. And that realization starting to come through now, which is just beautiful, I think.
Yeah, it's true. And like, who has never heard this? I'm not paying you to take care of your children at work, Yeah, if you're calling your wife or arranging your vacation, do it outside of office hours. No personal emails on company email or whatever, Yeah, totally. And it's now I think most people acknowledge that we do the best we can. And there's also one thing that you started with about this, applying it to ourselves. I would be curious, and I'm not asking you to share, but I would be curious if you just looked at yourself, or if you looked at your calendar for the week. Let's say the 9 to 5 bit, the work thing. How much of it is dedicated to space? And just look at it for yourself. You don't need to share the answer, but just look at that and then maybe think, what could I change? If I want more space, if I want just more time to myself, what could I change for there? And maybe it could be like, I can't, but what I can do is for the next meeting where we don't need to share the screens or whatever, I just could go out for a walk and have a walking meeting. Get a breath of fresh air. That works as well. If you don't need to see the screen, like there are people here who are without camera who are listening in to us. Well, maybe they are already outside and having a walk. I see Oromas has the Aurora Borealis behind him, so he must be outside Lithuania. It must be beautiful out there. But yeah, so it's like, see, what things could I already put in place into my own thing to put some change, and then inspire others to do the same. But we always say in retrospective, don't do the big bang change. Well, you can also maybe do that for yourself. Don't try to, okay, as from next week, I will put 2 hours of free space every day. If you want something that doesn't work, try that. But maybe 5 minutes every day will work. Okay, Maru, yeah, you also had your hand up, and Orimas, or you've removed. Okay, yeah, Maru.
So I was reflecting on what Giles and Sheetal were saying, and I remember the movies made on the software heroes from the Valley, Oracle and and the mystification of the power performance culture, it was all salespeople. If you know, there is a movie, I don't know, it was 5 or 6 years ago on IBM, however, who showed that the developer was a very smart and very, very crazy woman, and she partnered with a genius salesman who had a big ego problem to to revolutionize the way IBM was doing the work. I don't remember the name of the movie, but yeah. And I remembered also the time when The Big Bang Theory emerged on TV, and I remember noticing that the behavior of girls towards nerds like me just came too late, unfortunately, but completely changed. And so there is a big cultural element that influenced the way we were perceived at work and the free, let's say, space we got at work. The people from the IT community, from the development or computer science community, whatever, tech community, forced the respect of people in corporations and the structures and the management, because they did that. They didn't wait for them to understand them or convince them. They did it in many companies. So there was a pull mode to bring in those practices and those ways of working. No matter when it happened, I personally believe the startup scene contributed mostly to it, but it is true that there is big successes and organizations saw that and wanted to appropriate it. That's another topic. But,
Oh, Maere, thank you so much for sharing your insights on that. I guess we're coming on to 8 o'clock. Shalini, that was really, really wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your efforts, and your kind of, what's the word? Taking us back in time. So thank you for that. It was quite a nostalgic journey for me, especially. 2001, I was still at university, so I was just finishing things off. Yeah, you really kind of pulled some great memories to the surface and took us back in time. Thank you. Yeah, so guys, everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for engaging. The chat room has been on fire. I've never seen it so busy. So you really, I really hope that both speakers had inspired you, and please leave your comments as well in the meetup group. And we will be putting this on YouTube, so watch out for it if you want to repeat and look back on the session today. Giles, would you like to add anything to wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. No, shall we go for it, shall we?
No, sorry, I thought it was Charles, but no, go ahead, Giles.
That's right, no worries, man. I just want to say, again, appreciation for coming along, being here this evening, to Shalini and Charlie. Absolutely amazing, first class, can't fault either of the events we've had tonight. Just mind-blowing, and I hope everybody else is still feeling sort of buzzed and enthused and everything else from it as well, because this is why we do this is why we put these on. It's for the people, by the people, as we talked about early on. It's why Chantal and myself sort of spend a lot of time planning these things and wanting to make them as fun for the community as much as possible. So heartfelt thanks genuinely goes out to Shalini. Thank you very much. Charlie, thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you next week for our 4th and final mini event for February, not our last meetup, God forbid. We have Neil Walker and Roy Marriott coming along to do some amazing talks. So make sure you book in for those this time next week. I want to see Matthew with proper beer, Grant with his dinner. I mean, look, this is the stuff that's psychologically safe for us, right? So this is good. Look, genuinely look forward to seeing everybody same time next week. So guys, thanks very much for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Shalini.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Fantastic. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.